is take a look at this big packet. So I put a bunch of handouts on everybody's tables. So this is the real thick one. And on the first page is something called the voting method summary. None of that should make any sense to you at this point. We're just going to skip past that first page and come back to it. And on the second page is where we begin. So what I like to have folks do is read. I talk way too much in my classes, so let's have you guys start the semester by talking. Can you read number 1 to us, please? Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing that the recent math classes that you all have taken have been algebra of some flavor or another. And in high school, it's algebra, algebra, algebra. Maybe there's a geometry class thrown in there somewhere. And then you go to college and it's algebra, algebra, algebra. And you start to think that all of math is algebra, and it isn't. And so this is not just another algebra class. We're not going to be memorizing lots of rules and playing with lots of symbols. We're, again, just going to try to see some structure hidden behind the scenes for all this stuff that's going on around us. That's not to say we won't use any algebra, but we're not going to do algebra for the sake of doing algebra. We'll use algebra when it makes sense for us, okay? All right, we'll go to number 2. Could you read 2 for us, please?
Of course. We'll use math, voting, nature, population, music, and the arts. We'll study the chant. We will also improve our skill at estimation.
Thank you. We'll go around the table to 3. Okay, thank you. Number 4.
Today we'll start with the syllabus. Citing my sources, materials, resources created for our
Any questions on anything right now? Okay, so let's take a quick look at that other document that's on your table. This is the much shorter one. So part of your homework tonight is going to be to read through this document much more thoroughly. It would be really boring for all of you, and importantly, really boring for me too, if we just read this all together. So we're not going to do that, but just some highlights. My name is right there. It's Ian. You'll find contact information for me up there. Recognize that the fact I'm giving you my home phone number means it is okay to contact me at home. All right? Office hours and studio hours, I just want to highlight that specifically for this class, I have office hours on Tuesdays right after class, and I have office hours on Thursdays right after class. So every day after this class, I'm available for 45 minutes with you guys in mind, okay? All right, the textbook information is here. We're actually not going to use the textbook for about 2 weeks, so you have some time to do some shopping around, see if you can find a good deal on this really expensive textbook. Okay, so stuff to read in there. Let's go to the next page. And I just want to look at this one sentence in bold under the conduct phrase. If I see you sending or reading a text message during class, you lose all participation points for that class. Losing all participation points for a class results in a loss of roughly 0.4 percentage points on your final course grade. Okay, this is the first time I've ever put that sentence in my syllabus. It's in bold. Why do you think it's here? That is correct. This is a reaction. I'm not being proactive here. I am reacting to lots of texting. This was not an issue even 3 years ago, but now you guys know how popular texting is. If you've got some family or work emergency that's going on and you absolutely need to have your phone on and respond to texts, just give me a heads up before class. But if you just have to check in with your friend and LOL and be right back and all that stuff, don't do that. Don't do that here, okay? If you're here, let's be here and let's be present for the hour and 15 minutes twice a week. Please don't send or read texts in this class. And then just skip to the next page and we'll take a look at how your grade is going to be calculated. It's at the bottom. It says course grade. Group work is 10%. That group work consists of you guys showing up like you did today, being prepared like you are today, and working together like you will today, all right? 10% is a lot of your grade. That's my way of telling you I think it's really, really important that you guys come and you're prepared and you are active members of this class. Right now you're sitting at a table. You can move tables next time. You don't have to stay at this table the whole semester. But what you do need to do is work well with the people around you, because the whole class gets better, by people working together as opposed to individuals working by themselves. All right, daily questions is our fancy word for homework. That's worth 20% of your grade. We'll talk about the projects, but they are worth 30% of your grade. You will do 2 of them. And then finally, the tests are worth a total of 40% of your grade. I know that some of the people in this room have not had good experience with math tests. I know that. The goal of this class is not to give you like a grade where 90% of it is based on what you do on tests. It's not that. This is the lowest percentage that I have given in any class. I've done it this semester and previous semesters for 117, but I do it because I recognize that not everybody's had the best experience with math tests, which means that even if you don't test really well in a math class, if you do your homework and you show up and participate and you give me some good projects, you can get a solid grade even with some bad tests, okay? That's the goal. All right, and then finally on the next page, we'll take a quick look at the calendar. Okay, so, oops. The first few classes, say these ones right here, we'll say this is about number sense. The next few classes have to do with voting. Kind of timely, right? We've got a really important vote coming up in the US in just a couple of months. Next few classes after that are about statistics and probability. And then finally, we wrap up the end of the semester talking about math and nature, math and art, and then a couple of days on cryptography. You'll see that there are some dates over there in bold about projects. Again, we'll talk about them soon enough. And the test dates are highlighted in bold as well. This next announcement should be greeted with some applause. We do not have a cumulative final exam. We have 3 tests.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Forced applause is still applause. It's fine. So anyway, 3 tests, each of them worth exactly the same. Any questions on any of that stuff? Okay, so let's do some math. On the next page, we are going to here. It says, I will now pose a question. Once I've asked the question, and then can you read number 1 for us, please?
Individually think about the question for 30 seconds. Write down your best. In a blank space for that's the one that the answer should be. No calculator allowed.
Okay, so here's your individual question. Most of the questions I ask, you're going to work with your groups. But right now, this is an individual question to start with. All right, you guys know that tuition has been rising across the country at colleges, including here at GCC, and that makes it very difficult for some folks. In order to protest rising tuition at GCC, a group of students has decided that they're going to fill this room right here with pennies. They're going to fill this room completely with pennies to protest rising tuition at GCC. So here's your question. How many pennies will it take to fill up this room? How many pennies will it take to fill up this room? So you are working individually for 30 seconds with no calculators and really no tools of any kind. Write down an answer in the next 30 seconds to this question right there. Okay, everybody have an answer written down? If you have not written one, write one anyway. Just make a guess. You have hardly any information and not nearly enough time to try to answer this, but just commit to something, write down an answer. Okay, anybody less than 1,000? Less than 10,000? Less than, yes, one person less than 10,000. So we're going to put, let's see, 10,000 is 10 to the how many? 10,000 is 10 to the third, is that right? Yes? 10 to the third means 10 times 10 times 10, right? What does that equal to? That's 1,000. Yes? Okay, 10 to the third is 1,000. Here's an easy trick. Whatever power is sitting on the 10 is exactly the same as the number of zeros. All right, so I want 10,000. So what power of 10 do I want? 10 to the fourth. Okay, so let's say 10 to the fourth is our starting point. So we'll get rid of this stuff here. Okay, 10 to the fourth, we have one person out there. Between 10,000 and 100,000, how many? One person? Two people? Three people. Don't be shy. So this is three folks. A little less than a million. Anybody a little less than a million? Okay, nobody's in there. Between a million and 10 million? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you. Between 10 million and 100 million? Big spenders here. 1, 2. Between 100 million and a billion? Anybody more than a billion? 3 trillion. 1 trillion. 900 trillion. All right, so we're going to go out for a little bit for you guys, and then three people are out here. Okay, number 2, could you read for us, please? It's an
I work with your group members. We will spend quite a bit of time on this case. Feel free to contact the group for discussion. Websites,
Okay, so you guys are going to spend some time, maybe 25 minutes, maybe 35 minutes. Take your time coming up with some technique here. You've got some tools on the table. I've given everybody a ruler, a whole bunch of pennies to play with, as well as a tape measure, okay? So you have some tools. Make sure that you are taking good notes, not just the numbers, but what you did to calculate the numbers, because part of the homework for tonight is going to be to explain what you did. And if you just have a whole bunch of numbers on your paper, that's not going to help you recreate what you did. So go for it. You guys look up here for just 1 second. 3, 2, 1. Okay, what's your name?
Tim. Lucas. Gary. Gary being the last name.
Oh. Okay.
Gary's the last.
Oh, Gary's the last name, Lucas.
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry,
that's all right. We're good. All very good questions. You guys are going to make assumptions, and there's not enough information. So as long as you write down, we assumed blah.
I have a question. Are
Yes.
we supposed to have like one notebook for this, or can I have like a 5-subject and just write my notes?
Whatever is easiest for you.
Okay.
I'm actually intending for this to kind of serve as part of your notebook. I mean, a lot of the stuff we'll do will just be right here, but whatever you find easiest in terms of organization is fine. Okay, we have one group still working, but I have 5 answers up here for the other 5 groups. What can you tell me is the same about all of these numbers? They are all big. Would you say they're in the millions? They're all in the 100 millions. And I walked around. Yeah, I mean, yeah, 4 of these are right around 300 million, really like surprisingly close to each other, because I can tell you, I walked around and I saw 6 different techniques. You might have thought that, oh, this is the way you do it. You might have thought the way you came up with was the only way you count the pennies in the room, but I counted 6 different techniques that you guys came up with in terms of estimating, and you came up with numbers that, for the most part, were right around each other, like really, really close to each other. Now, we're going to spend some time in one of the coming classes just talking about big numbers and dealing with big numbers like these. And I'll say that when you're trying to estimate something where the answer is a big number, just getting the right number of digits is considered a success. So you guys all had 9 digits in your answer. This is a success. That's what I was looking for, was a 9-digit answer. So this is fine.
What's the actual amount of pennies that would be?
Good question. What do we think?
We wouldn't know unless we actually did it.
Probably like
Yeah, so first of all, there's no way, I mean, we made some assumptions to answer this question, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those assumptions on Thursday, but I'll say that, that there's no right answer to this question. Now, that might be disconcerting on the first day of a math class, that first question I gave you has no right answer, but there is no right answer to this question. And even if we tried to fill the room with pennies today, and then we did it again on Thursday, I guarantee you we get different answers. Like, there's no way we get the same answer. Yes? I have done the math and I came up with about 300 million, and I'm not willing to give you more digits because I don't have any confidence in them. Like, all of these look good to me. I'll say the 900 seems a little big, but it's got the right number of digits. Okay, let's talk a little bit about homework. So if you guys could go to page 3. Go to page 3. And on the bottom of page 3, or I guess in the middle of page 3, you will find learning objectives. And you're going to find these at the end of every section of notes. The big packet that I gave you today is roughly 1/3 of the handouts that I'll give you this semester. This is going to take us to our first test. Learning objectives after class number 1, you have reading and class preparation. You're going to read over a list of problem-solving strategies. It says below, sometimes that means it's on the next page, but you'll find it if you just go to the next page. And then there's homework, and you're going to answer each of these things on a separate sheet and turn in your answers at the beginning of class. Homework is worth 20% of your grade in this class. I will tell you there are some people that would have passed this class before, but didn't because they didn't do the homework. Yes?
Do you want it typed out or?
Typed or written is fine, whatever's easier for you guys. Okay, so the homework is due at the start of next class. Again, do it. And then on the next page, you will find a list of other things to do. So for example, you're going to read the course syllabus, you're going to buy the textbook, you're going to try to find a scientific calculator if you don't have one, and go ahead and check out the Moodle site. There are some resources there that maybe will prove useful. Any questions on any of that? Before we go, there are just a few people I needed to chat with briefly. Sarah, Kristen, Morgan, and Dakota. Just coming up for a second, and everybody else, we'll see you Thursday.